It had been 12 hours since the sandstorm ended. The ship was scorched metal panels still hissing in the sun. Lieutenant Mark Teller knelt in the blistering heat, sweat cutting lines through the dust on his face, hands deep in the ship's fried navigation module. He didn't have to say it. They were stranded. No comms, no NAV, no orbital sync. The twin suns over Eridani 4 burned like judgment above them, and the only shade for miles was the ship's narrow undercarriage. Ava watched him from the edge of that shadow, her uniform charred, visor cracked, but her stance was steady. She had been the last to eject from the shuttle before the engines blew. Before the sand swallowed their signal. They weren't supposed to be here. A diplomatic run turned into a desert grave. The pilot was dead. The rest of the crew, scattered or worse. Only Mark and Ava remained. Mark's tools sparked as he fused 2 torn leads with his portable welder. The terrain offered nothing. No landmarks, no sign of intelligent life. Only sand and scattered debris from what used to be a state-of-the-art diplomatic corvette. The Talon class had a reputation for durability. It just hadn't been tested against orbital sabotage and coordinated atmospheric interference, which meant someone wanted them down here, isolated. A crash wasn't random. Mark kept working. His focus didn't drift. Ava's voice cut through the dry air. "You think it was the Arcari?" "No," Mark muttered. "Too subtle. They'd have used a nuke, or at least a sky-splitter cannon. This was surgical. Council wants us quiet." He nodded once. She was fast on the uptake. Someone high up had to want this mission scrubbed. Badly enough to down a diplomatic shuttle, kill a pilot, and strand a decorated marine engineer and a xenolinguist in hostile terrain. He shoved aside the panel. "I can reroute auxiliary to the distress ping. Give us half a what might carry." Ava didn't respond. She was looking past him now, into the shifting dunes. Her hand drifted to the compact pistol strapped to her leg. Mark didn't question it. He heard the low vibration next, barely audible just beneath the wind. Not natural. Not wildlife. Something mechanical. Rhythmic. They ducked instinctively. Mark pulled a scrap of hull over their position. Ava crouched beside him. Dust kicked up in a distant plume. A single transport glider, narrow frame, no markings, skimming the horizon toward them. Not Arcari. Not Human Federation. Something older. The glider settled without sound. A lone figure stepped off. No escort, no weapons visible, tall, robed, with a metallic gleam under its hood. Ava tensed. Mark remained still. The figure raised one arm and dropped something in the sand, a cube, humming faintly. The signal. A pulse. Then it turned, glider already rising, and vanished into the golden haze. Mark ran to the cube. His scanner lit up. Pre-Federation tech. Human but ancient, third diaspora era. No registry. No comm signature. Just a pulse. Encrypted, steady, short range. It was sending a single repeating code. He decrypted it. Trust costs time. Time costs blood. Prove your worth either. He stared at the message. Ava stepped beside him. Who the hell are we proving that to? No idea. But whoever it is, they just opened a door. He turned to the wreck. Time to make a call. 3 hours later, Mark had gutted the forward systems and linked the cube's signal to their remaining comm relay. The cube's code interfaced like it belonged there. As soon as it synced, new data streamed through. Maps, terrain models, anomaly points. One stood out, 60 kilometers east. A canyon, marked with a symbol even Ava didn't recognize. They had a goal. Mark packed what little gear remained. Ava filled 2 flasks and loaded the last of the power cells into a sled. It wouldn't last long, but it'd get them halfway. They walked. The heat was worse than the radiation warnings suggested. Ava's skin blistered under her suit. Mark's boots sank into fine-grained sand with every step. No clouds, no shade. Just the twin suns watching like predators. By the time they reached the third ridge, the sled died. Mark hoisted what he could onto his back. Ava limped. The strain of the crash, the dehydration, and the exposure were grinding them down. But the canyon was visible now. Real. Not a mirage. Jagged black stone rose like broken ribs from the desert floor, a wound in the landscape. Inside, everything changed. The temperature dropped by 20 degrees. The air was heavier, damp. And the silence was absolute. Their boots echoed faintly as they entered. Mark's eyes adjusted first. Strange carvings along the walls, symbols in spirals, none matching known Federation alphabet. Ava reached out and touched one. It pulsed under her fingers. A voice erupted, not from a speaker, but from inside their skulls. Designation, human. Biological confirmation, affirmed. Protocol sequence unlocked. A section of wall collapsed inward, revealing a chamber lit with cool blue biolight. In the center, a pillar of machinery hummed. Suspended above it, an orb, crystalline, rotating in impossible geometry. Ava was transfixed. Mark moved forward, eyes scanning. The tech was old, older than anything he'd seen in the Federation's war museums. But it was clean. Maintained. Operational. Then the orb spoke. In English. You have been deemed viable. The chamber shifted. Walls retracted, and a console rose from the floor. Ava rushed to it. Her fingers danced across it, translating, interpreting. Mark watched the orb. You're a test, he said flatly. The orb paused. A filter. A chance. A weapon. Mark frowned. Why now? Because you were meant to die here. And you didn't. Ava looked up. This isn't Arcari. This isn't even Council. No, the orb replied. This is older. Built by your kind. Left for those who endured. For the ones who refused to vanish. Mark exhaled. A pre-collapse contingency. Something built before Earth unified, before the Federation rose. Something buried in the sand, waiting. The orb pulsed. You may activate the relay. Or destroy it. Your survival is your authorization. Ava turned to Mark. If we activate it, everyone hears us. And if we don't, no one knows we're alive. He stepped forward. Run the diagnostics. Power, integrity, signal range. I want full specs. The orb complied. Data spilled across the console. Ava scanned, Mark calculated. It's a gate, Ava whispered. Not a relay. A gateway to something, not just another place. Another array. A network. Mark stared at her. How many? The orb answered. 12. Dormant. Awaiting signal. Mark didn't smile. He just nodded. Reactivate the array. The chamber thrummed. The orb sank into the pillar. The room dimmed, then ignited with pulses of light. In the distance, deep beneath the canyon, something rumbled awake. For the first time in weeks, a human distress signal pulsed from Eridani 4, not from a crashed shuttle, but from a forgotten node of an ancient machine built by ancestors who refused extinction. Within 8 minutes, orbit shifted. Above the planet, a cloaked vessel moved. Old Federation tech, black hull, low power. Listening. The signal reached it. 2 hours later, Mark and Ava heard a sonic boom. A craft descending. But it wasn't Federation. It bore the same markings as the canyon. They marched through silence. Following the man who spoke like command was a language embedded in his bones. His name was Rice. No rank. No insignia. Just the tone of someone who'd lived through more than most had ever read about. Ava kept pace beside him, soaking in every word, every detail he offered as the canyon narrowed into deeper passageways carved not by erosion, but design. Mark scanned the walls with every step. Hidden doors. Power nodes. Heat lines still active after centuries. Every sign pointed to the same conclusion. This wasn't a ruin. It was dormant. A system waiting for someone to push the right button. Now it stirred like a beast waking after hibernation, and it was deciding if Mark and Ava were prey, caretakers, or successors. Rice didn't look back when he spoke. You're not the first to come here. But you're the first to get the beacon working. The others died in the sand, buried before the canyon accepted them. Ava's voice was level. This place filters people. It was built to. The founders believed only those desperate enough to earn the code could be trusted with what lies below. And even fewer would know what to do with it. Mark didn't ask what it was. Not yet. He already knew. They entered the main hall. The size defied architecture. Columns of fused metal and sandstone, platforms suspended without support, light blooming from invisible sources. At the center, a monolith of rotating symbols. Languages from across human history. Dead tongues, lost dialects, even Terran binary spliced with emotional pattern triggers. Rice gestured toward the base. You'll need to choose. Each symbol leads somewhere different. Protocol branches. Reawakening comes at a price. Mark studied it. His mind turned to the crash, the sabotage, the cube, the council that never responded. This wasn't just a weapon vault. This was a decision tree. A gate to futures humanity had buried when they opted for politics over grit. One symbol glowed when Ava approached. It responded to her biometrics. Language structure. Neural resonance. Mark stepped forward and placed his hand on a different one, his lit too. Rice simply watched. They both accepted you. Rare. Mark didn't flinch. You said we had a choice. Yeah. You can activate one. Maybe both. But there's no going back. Once a protocol's live, it'll trigger global resonance. The other powers will notice, including the ones that exiled us. Ava narrowed her eyes. Who are you really? Once, a fleet commander. Then a fugitive. Now a keeper. I watched the Federation toss humanity's best tech down a black hole and call it peace. This place was built by those who disagreed. Mark pressed the symbol. The hall trembled. Symbols spiraled, forming a ring of light. Rice nodded once, not surprised. You activated the Exodus gate. The floor shifted, revealing a subterranean chamber, massive, armored, sealed by ancient alloys. Lights flickered on across the chamber's surface as the machinery rebooted. Deep within, a pulse began to beat, slow, steady, waiting for orders. Ava looked at the readouts. It's not a weapon. It's a failsafe. Rice answered, it's a migration core. Pre-Federation. Last resort planetary seeder. It doesn't just move people. It moves infrastructure. Biomes. Defense grids. A portable civilization. One designed for collapse recovery. Mark's jaw tightened. This is why they wanted us gone. Yeah. Because this changes everything. If the public learns the Federation suppressed this, every colony would revolt. Mark didn't hesitate. So we bring it back. Rice raised an eyebrow. You think it's that easy? This thing's locked behind 3 command layers, and 2 of them require full legacy DNA chain access. You're halfway there, but someone else has the rest. Mark already knew. My father was part of the first recon mission here. He disappeared. Never declared dead. No body. Rice didn't blink. Then he made it. He's probably deeper in. Or what's left of him. Ava stepped between them. How do we find the remaining key? Rice turned. We descend. They descended through catwalks over ancient reactors, through sealed doorways coded to pulse only when human blood touched them. The lower levels weren't abandoned. They were guarded, automated defense drones armed with kinetic launchers, precision-linked to biometric clearance. But none fired. Mark and Ava walked unharmed. The systems recognized them as inheritors. Eventually, they reached a chamber of memory, dozens of cryogenic pods suspended in dark fluid, each holding a person who had once mattered. Scientists, engineers, soldiers. All pre-Federation. All chosen. Mark stopped at one. The nameplate was corroded, but the face inside wasn't. His father, preserved mid-breath, eyes closed in frozen focus. Ava gasped softly. Rice looked away. The control node pulsed. Ava accessed the readouts. Pod integrity, 87%. Revival possible with full power routing. Mark nodded once. Do it. Systems surged. Lights turned gold. The temperature rose by degrees. After long minutes, the pod hissed open. The man inside coughed once, then drew a breath like a drowning survivor reaching air. His eyes opened. Sharp. Focused. Mark. The voice was dry, hoarse, but immediate. Mark stepped forward. You left us. No. I came here because I had to. We weren't ready then. We might be now. Rice saluted. Welcome back, Commander Teller. Mark's father stood slowly. Then it's begun. Ava handed him a slate. We need your command chain. Exodus gate is primed, but locked. He didn't hesitate. Biometric transfer, now. Within seconds, systems responded. The chamber overhead ignited in rotating light. The core pulsed faster. Upload coordinates, the Elder Teller ordered. Planetary blueprint seed. Colonial distribution pattern Beta 9. Minimum military overlay. Ava hesitated. We're relaunching? Mark answered for her. No. We're reintroducing. If the Federation buried this, then they've already failed us. Rice grinned for the first time. Damn right. The orb descended from the ceiling, the same one Mark and Ava had seen in the canyon. Its voice rang louder now. Humanity has chosen rediscovery. Second protocol, activated. Exodus transition begins. Across the chamber, holograms formed, 12 points in space. All marked. All previously decommissioned colonies. All wiped from the official record. Rice pointed. Each one has a gate node like this buried beneath it. Connect them, and we form the chain. Mark turned to Ava. You said it wasn't a weapon. That was only half true. She nodded. It's infrastructure with teeth. And we're the ones deciding who it bites. The Exodus core rumbled. Systems beyond the planet's crust began to stir. Deep orbital satellites powered up, cloaked vessels unlocked launch codes, and beneath them all, ancient code awakened protocols no Federation Council could suppress. Ava traced the orbital lines. We've got company. The screen flashed red. A single ship, sleek, black hull. No identification codes. Silent burn. Federation design, but not from the Council. This one was from the division that didn't exist. Mark read its vector. They sent a warden ship. Rice narrowed his eyes. They think they're being subtle. That's worse. His father opened a relay. Keep shield stable. No weapon locks unless they fire first. We don't start wars. We just end cover-ups. The ship hailed them. A voice came through, crisp and calm. You have reactivated a decommissioned artifact. By Federation decree, you are ordered to stand down and power off all systems for inspection. Ava answered. Your decree was never ratified by any human vote. You buried 12 colonies. You erased history. We're done listening. The voice replied with chilling certainty. This is your final warning. Mark smiled. Noted. The enemy ship charged its weapons. But the Exodus array wasn't defenseless. As soon as targeting thresholds were crossed, the orbiting node auto-deployed countermeasures. EM flares, kinetic absorbers, and 2 pulse charges that hit before the Federation ship even completed its firing sequence. The black ship spiraled, systems shattered. It didn't explode. It limped. Ava silenced the comms. Rice muttered, they wanted to make us flinch. Mark didn't blink. We made them retreat. Below them, the planetary surface shimmered. Old Exodus relays, buried under centuries of dust, activated their uplinks. Mark watched the connections form like arteries reforming in a long-dead body. Rice uploaded navigational routes. We've got alignment. You ready? Mark glanced at Ava, then his father, then back to the core. Send it. Energy surged through the array. Pulse streams left the orbiting platform, each one connecting to a hidden gate across space. Colonies long thought extinguished received the signal, confirmed receipt, and responded with their own activation sequences. Each link added more power. Each node came online with renewed clarity. People emerged from bunkers. Cities rebuilt from ruins. Beacons that had been silent for a generation now sang again. Ava's voice carried over the system. Signal integrity stable. We're live across the full map. Mark stared at the interface. How long before the Council makes this war? Rice didn't hesitate. They already did. You just revealed it. The next ship didn't arrive alone. 3 destroyers, all Federation class, exited warp space near the edge of the sector. They didn't communicate. They didn't hesitate. They locked weapons the second they spotted the array. Mark's father activated the defensive ring. Shields at max divert reactor overflow to kinetic dampeners. Ava's hands flew across the console, scrambling outbound logs to every open frequency. If they hit us, the whole galaxy will see it. Mark opened a channel. Federation vessels, stand down. You are engaging a humanitarian recovery station protected under pre-council charter law. You fire, you make the war official. No response. They fired. The impact rocked the array. Shields held, but barely. The second volley tore through the outer decks, searing 2 structural arms and disabling one of the secondary launch bays. Inside, systems sparked. Alarms echoed. Ava rerouted power. Rice locked the hull seals. Mark didn't panic. Return fire. The Exodus defense system wasn't elegant. It wasn't shiny. But it was built by humans who understood survival. Rail guns hidden in the hull extended and fired with terrifying precision. Each shot ripped through the destroyer's shields. One lost power immediately. Another veered off course, crippled. But it wasn't enough. The third ship closed in, charging its main cannon. Ava shouted, "Brace!" Before it fired, a flash erupted behind it. Another ship exited warp, sleek, battered, with the markings of one of the lost colonies. Then another. And another. 8 ships in total, all once written off, now here. Alive, armed, loyal. They fired as one. The last destroyer never stood a chance. Silence returned. Rice exhaled slowly. The chain answered. Mark stared at the wreckage outside. Now the Federation knows. Ava wasn't smiling. They'll escalate. We don't need escalation, Mark replied. We need declaration. The core pulsed again. All 12 nodes reported full sync. A command pathway appeared on the central interface. Global Declaration Mode. Mark activated it. Every Exodus node, every relay, every ship connected to the array began broadcasting. The message wasn't long. It wasn't aggressive. It was undeniable. Humanity had reconnected itself. The Federation's silence was shattered. All lost colonies were now linked, each with proof of suppression, each with living survivors. The recordings played in every port, every neutral zone, every outpost that still remembered the old map. No propaganda. No appeals. Just truth. The Federation responded the only way it knew how. Denial, followed by force. But this time, humanity wasn't scattered. This time, the sand had given back more than bones. It had returned unity. Fleet after fleet entered the system. Federation warships tried to form a blockade. But for every ship that arrived, another Exodus-aligned vessel met it. The numbers weren't even, but the morale was. Mark's forces had cause, had clarity, had history behind them. The Federation tried to suppress the message, but it was already too late. The people knew. Civil unrest broke out across the core world. Truth had a gravity the Federation's weapons couldn't cancel. Mark ordered minimal retaliation. No killing unless it's survival. We hold. We show them we're better. Ava monitored all channels. Half their officers are defecting. Councils fractured. Rice stood beside the command deck, arms crossed. You just started a revolution by telling the truth. Mark's father looked out the viewport at the scattered stars. We didn't start it. We just finished the first lie. Weeks passed. The Exodus array became the anchor for a new network. Not a government. Not an empire. A coalition of memory, survivors, engineers, teachers, even exiles. Humans who remembered what it meant to build something together. The Federation didn't collapse. It fractured, retreated, rebranded. They couldn't erase what had been unearthed. The councils disbanded. Some planets chose autonomy. Others joined the new chain. Ava walked the halls of the repaired station, now renamed. Not the Exodus Array. Not a relic. Just the hub. Mark stood by the core. No longer just a survivor. Not a soldier. Something in between. The man who answered when the stars called again. Rice left, quietly, heading to another forgotten node in another buried sector. Mark's father stayed, advising, guiding, never commanding. He had seen too much to want power again. The sand below never forgot. It shifted, settled, and buried new things in turn. But this time they would not be forgotten. This time, the people who rose from it wouldn't be erased. Second chances, it turned out, were rare. But in the right hands they were more powerful than any weapon. And humanity had just proven it had the right hands all along.